next person that's going to speak is someone that I personally look to for inspiration. I bet, Todd, maybe you do as well, is Brian Crothers. Because, guys, there are certain people that you know they're going to be Hall of Famers. You know, if network marketing had a Hall of Fame, if sports had a Hall of Fame, you know that person's going to be a Hall of Famer. But it's very rare that someone's a Hall of Famer, but they're also a current superstar. In other words, they're putting the numbers on the board today. They're not training out of last year's clippings, paper clippings if those were a thing. They're not training out of last year's results. They're not training out of results from 5 years ago. Here's someone that's 25 years in business. Do you think 25 years sounds like a career? How many of you would like a business that's 25 years? Put your hands up if you'd like your business to be 25 years. Now here's another one. How would you like to have made $25 million over those 25 years? Now, how would you love to have helped countless people through your activity ask you the question, how did you do it? And you say, this is what I did in my first 90 days to make that happen. This is what I did in my first year to make this happen. This is what I did in the last 90 days to make this happen. Guess what? Those two things are still the same. This is what I did my first year, but this is what I did last year. Guess what? Those two things are the same. By your fruit shall you be known. How do you know that? Guys, this gentleman, in his 25th year in business, was just recognized again this year for being the #1 recruiter in his company and leading by example. If you want to see a future Hall of Famer, if you want to see a superstar, get up on your feet. Let's bring the energy. Let's bring to the stage Mr. Brian Crothers.
Hello, peace. Hello, joy. Hello, love. Hello, strength. Hello, hope. It's a new horizon.
Good afternoon. So today I want to share my story with you to help you guys have perspective for your journey. And I guess I want to start all the way back to what kind of were the seeds that were planted in me, because I think some of you all here can relate. How many of you all have ever felt less than? In some way, shape, or form, I'm sure everybody in some aspect of your life you have felt that way. So I'm going to take you back to my school years. When I was in high school, I was one of the smaller kids in class. And I never forget a moment where my brother and his best friend stuffed me in a locker and locked it. And put a sign on it and said, "Don't feed the animal." And everybody walked by and laughed, and I had to kick my way out of it, which cut my knee open. And then later on that same year, one of the football players stuffed me upside down into a trash can. I never mentioned that to anybody as an adult. One time at an event earlier this year with a close portion of my leadership team, I shared that in a tearful way, because sometimes we have things that made us who we are that we never really thought about. It was not consciously there. And so being one of the smaller kids, and later on in my dating life, not getting dates that easily. I don't know if I don't really look like Brad Pitt or anything, but I felt like if I had money and success, that I would get love and respect and status. So that was a driving force for me. People always say, you got to find your why. What is your why for wanting to build a business? Well, that was my why. When I told people my why, I said, I want to be able to get married one day. I want to be able to provide a nice home and beautiful lifestyle for our family. It sounds very altruistic. We always have these altruistic whys that we repeat out to people. But a lot of times people, their why, what they say, is not the right why, because if they're not doing the activity, their why isn't the right why. My why was I wanted to be able to have the status and the respect. I wanted to be able to have a girl when I walked up to her at a bar and say, hey, can I buy you a drink? I want her to say yes instead of the usual no. So that was a driving force for me to become successful. And one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to get a watch. Matter of fact, I have not worn this Rolex in about 11 or 12 years. Okay? It was in my safe all this time. But when I hit a certain level, I hit platinum in our company. I went to the store and I bought a $6,000 watch at the time, and that made me feel different. My brother, who is not the best support for my network marketing career, by the way, I love him to death. He's my best man. But he gave me a lot of crap for being in network marketing and leaving our family real estate business. So when I hit the $1 million mark after my first 2.5 years in my company, I called up Ferrari of Washington because on my brother's refrigerator, he had a picture of a red 355 Spider Ferrari with tan interior. That was his dream car on his refrigerator. So I said, I need a red 355. He said, we just happen to have one here. So within 2 hours, I drove down to Ferrari, Washington, and I bought that car so that I could have it 2 days later at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, where all of our family shows up. And I parked it right out front in their circular drive. And my family was all there. I walk in. My cousin walks in and says, whose Ferrari's outside? And my sister goes, oh, Brian, you brought your Ferrari? And my brother said, Ferrari, what? And he walks out and he goes, that's my dream car. I said, hell yeah, it is. So sometimes you have to be driven by something that may not be deemed positive, but it was a driving force for me. And I've gone on in that very company for the 25 years. God planted me in my company. I'm not going anywhere. For 25 years, I've made tens of millions of dollars, and I've had great success. And that was that chasing success and status and respect. And to some extent, we all will always have that. But I've evolved. And my evolution process has been amazing as I look back on it, but as I look forward and who I actually am becoming and who I'm walking with. And so, some of the things along the way, I read a book called Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, and it helped me to look beyond just what I could see and stop neglecting and missing out on a lot of things. I also read a book called Die with Zero, and I really want you all to read Die with Zero. And some of you are like, well, if I die right now, I'd already have zero. But the premise of the book is give away your money while you're young enough to enjoy seeing the good in the world that it can do, versus dying with all your money and then somebody inherits the money or it goes to some charitable cause, but you never got to see it. He also says, don't wait until you're 75 years old and you're retired to go out there and travel the world and climb mountains and do all the things you want to do when you're too old to do it. Do it young or younger so you have plenty of years to cherish those memories. So with your doings and your givings, die with zero. So let me tell you what that book did for me. There was a combination of that and my wife deciding that we're going to put our kids into a private school that is Christian-based in Leesburg, Virginia. It's attached to part of a church as well. And look, I grew up Catholic. I had no real relationship with God. But I found non-denominational church, and we went to different churches along the way. But when we went to this particular church, my wife, Melissa, she is the love of my life, and she's changed me in so many ways. She started leaning into her faith. And she went to a foundations class, and then she decided she wanted to get baptized. And I'll never forget last September when she was baptized. It was a very emotional moment for her, of course, but for me. I cried, and every time I see a water baptism at church, I can't control that. I just get so emotional. And so something just kind of dawned on me with the Die with Zero philosophy that I wanted to do something to lean into my personal faith. And I asked for a coffee meeting with our lead pastor, and I said, look, you've got this big give that you need to raise money for the expansion of the school and the church and the mission projects. I said, here's what I like to do. Because I've got a way I think because of what I do for a living. I said, I want you to pick a Sunday and tell the congregation that somebody has come forth and they're going to match dollar for dollar whatever you give up to $500,000. If your heart says you want to give 500, but you can only do 250, you gave 500. If you want to give 10 grand, but you can only give 5, you actually are going to give 10,000 that day. And my gosh, on that Sunday, last December 10th, they raised $947,000 in this small church in one day without my 500 included. It's amazing. So what happened was I was invited to a dinner with a guest pastor who came in from Church of the Highlands in Alabama. And it was 3 pastors from our church, Pastor Lee Domain, and myself. And having that, and I bought my way into that dinner apparently for 500 grand, but I got a chance to sit with someone who's completely transformed my life. Pastor Lee Domain was a multimillionaire businessman. 8 years ago, he was called to be a pastor. And in that conversation, he talked to me about EROI, which is eternal return on investment. And I'm a money guy. I'm all about ROI. And he said, Pastor Charlie's gifting and calling to be a pastor to preach in the church is no more important to God than your gifting and your calling as an entrepreneur in the marketplace. He said, you've got a gift. The church needs your gift to expand the kingdom because Pastor Charlie can only preach to the people that are coming, but you can show people the way there, and also the church needs money, and you're good at making that. So I finally, for the first time, you guys, in my life, I've got a true alignment. No longer did I have to say, do I want to be a person of faith and focus on church and God, or am I going to go make money? It's not or, it's and. And so that alignment, I want that alignment for you. And look, my journey, I'm sharing with you my journey. At first, it was all about money. And you don't have to stop doing the money thing to become a godly person. It can be done simultaneously. My mentor, Paul J. Meyer, and it's so amazing. You got John C. Maxwell, who's coming here tomorrow. I wasn't there, but a few of my friends, I was talking to Justin Prince earlier, a few of my friends were at John C. Maxwell's house. And he took them into his office and showed a package from Paul J. Meyer that he took all the money he had to buy this program by Paul Meyer that got his start into what you know as John Maxwell today. That was my mentor for about 10 years before Paul Meyer passed. He said he was really good at making money. He was a billionaire. He gave $450 million to charity while he was alive. He said, everything I have is God's by right of creation. And he said, I'm going to go out and make as much money as I can because I'm able to do that and I can do so much good in the world with it. So that was my decision. I want to do that. But look, a couple things I want to share with you here today is that it's all about integrity. Everything's about integrity. When I wrote my first book with Building an Empire, how many of you guys have read Building an Empire? Anybody? When I wrote that book, a friend of mine in the industry said, Brian, I'm glad you're writing that book. Nobody can write the book probably the same way you can. But he said, look, you're still in network marketing, so maybe not everybody's going to go trust you to read your book. I made a vow 12 years ago that I would never recruit an active network marketer, and I've held true to my word for the last 12 straight years. Never. I never have, never will. And so I wrote a book called Untrapped. That was my most recent book, the fourth one, because people, and I would encourage you to read that one and use it to get your team to understand what they've got their hands on. The only way to have time freedom is to be financially free. And they don't even appreciate the network marketing business model that they've got in their hands. So I would encourage you to encourage them to use that. But congruence is something that everybody struggles with. If you're not congruent, if you say this is what you want, but this is what you're doing, and they're not congruent, it's going to plague your business. You're going to be constantly fighting how you feel. If your why and your actions are not aligned, it's going to mess you up. You're going to start feeling guilty. You're going to start feeling depressed. If your faith and your business are not aligned, I fought that for 20-some years. The alignment feeling that I have now in my life, it's joyful. It's peaceful. I feel like what I'm doing right now is heaven sent. It's not about just making material things happen. And so get congruent in your life, and a lot of the things that have been plaguing you are going to just melt away. Now, there's also something I hear people ask about a lot, and that is about balance. Balance. People say, you got to have a balanced life. And I was asking this same question to Paul J. Meyer at his home in Waco, Texas, because he was a massively successful man. He owned 43 companies when he passed away. He owned 348 properties on Grand Cayman. I mean, he's like a very, very, I mean, the kind of person you just want to just soak up whatever knowledge and wisdom he can share. I said, look, I'm crushing it in the business right now, but I'm spending a lot of time on it, and I'm not doing other things in my life so much. But he always talked about having a balanced wheel, because if one spoke is longer, one spoke shorter, it's just not going to roll smoothly in your life. And what he shared with me is he said, it's okay to be out of balance for a season. If you're focused always on just being balanced, I guarantee you anybody you see in Success Magazine or Forbes Magazine, anybody who's done anything massive, they were out of balance for a season. Sometimes their season was months. Sometimes their season was 10 or 15 years. But they were all in. They were obsessed. They were focused. And that's the season that I was in as I was building my network marketing business, and I was making the tens of millions of dollars and building a team and helping to pour into people and help them become successful. And it's been a blessing to watch people be able to walk away from their jobs and living off the residual income. But you've got to be willing to be out of balance for a little while. Focus, but not neglect. Don't neglect your marriage. Don't neglect your kids. Time block for everything that's important for you. In church, I heard a statistic that 80 to 90% of students, when they leave school, lose their connection to God after high school. I want you to think about that. 80 to 90% of students lose connection to God after high school. But 90% of those with a mentor kept their connection. Did you guys catch that? Mentor. So when I was speaking in Chicago this past February, I don't know, it just came on me, an acronym, GAME. And I want you guys to write this down in your notes, GAME. GAME stands for Great Associations, Mentors, and Environment. Great associations, you become who you hang around. You hang around 5 broke friends, you're bound to be the 6th one. 5 millionaires, you're going to be the 6th one. If they drink, you'll drink. If they smoke, you'll smoke. If they curse, you'll curse. If they go to church, you'll go to church. You become who you hang around. You ever see somebody hanging around with their pet so much they start looking like them? I mean, your associations are working on you always. Some of you might need to look at your associations and maybe disassociate or lessen your associations with certain people. Are they lifting you up or are they dragging you down? Because you're going to become who they are. So getting around great associations is very important. When I found network marketing, I found great associations to surround myself with. Then great mentors. Mentors are everything. If you ever wanted to be great at something, you can either go spend the 10,000 hours, which you really can't avoid, but the shortcut to success is having the great associations, mentors, and environment. Find somebody who's excelled at what you're looking to get good at and see if they will help you to do it. But look, if I wanted to play the piano or sing, maybe I'd go find John Legend and hire him. But just to get John Legend to come into a room and sing one song, I already found this out, $300,000. So you can't typically afford or have proximity or access to mentors for most people. You know what I love about network marketing? The mentors are already there. And you don't have to pay them out of your pocket for their time and energy. They get paid for helping you. When I stepped into my company, the people that were there, they poured into me to help me. And if I made 10 grand, they made 2, they were happy. If I made 100 grand a month and they made 20 grand a month of that, they're happy, I'm happy. The mentorship is provided. And then the environment. What environment are you in? In your workplace, in your home life, in your social life? What does that environment look like? Is it putting the right thoughts in your head? Is it laced with personal development? Is it a lot of chaos? So you guys, here's what I hope everybody understands. You've got game because you're in a business that has game. You have the shortcut. Recruiting, I've recruited not as many as other people. I think I used to be, before the age of social media and some of the things and the big brand personalities, I was probably one of the biggest recruiters in the history of network marketing, closing in on 2,000 personal recruits. Most of it the old-fashioned way. I'm the top recruiter in my company this year. Pretty much old-fashioned style. But at the end of the day, it's not just, oh, I've got the most amazing product. I have the most amazing comp plan. Some of you guys are leading with and sticking with that is your only sales pitch. We've got all this money in the comp plan. We've got this amazing product. Yes, they're necessary to have a business model that you can have a vehicle to build around. But you know what I talk to people about? Stop selling, start solving. Stop recruiting, start solving. What in their life would they want to have a fix for? What's missing in their life? I guarantee you their associations are not great. They don't have mentors, and they probably don't have a great environment that's conducive for them to succeed. So I teach people to sell game. Because people, hey, you got game? I got game. If you don't have game, come over here and we can do this together. Now, I'm just going to share with you something that I just thought of, because everybody's throwing up on screen, hey, we got this product, this download or this thing that can help you out. I'm like, what do I have that can help people out? Yeah, you can go read the books, but I have a YouTube video that I put up several months ago. It was originally a 7-minute audio. Wake Up Motivated is what I called it. And I made it available behind the wall for all the people that follow me. But I said, look, the world needs it. You could go get inspirational videos on YouTube, and it's people climbing mountains, dunking basketballs, bench pressing 500 pounds. I'm like, those are really cool, but it doesn't motivate me to pick up the phone and call a prospect. They're not for entrepreneurs. They're for people that are athletes or whatever. So I created a 7-minute audio. I turned it into a video. It's called Shock the World by Building Your Empire. So go to my YouTube channel, and I would encourage you to do this. Listen to that video every morning just for the next 30 days. It takes 7 minutes, and I promise you this. You're going to see the day different. You're going to see your opportunity different. And you're going to see your duty to go out there and change people's lives differently. And I just want to encourage you to do that. Have game, promote game. Let's go out and change the world together. God bless you guys.